Glinalas, what does your elven sight see?
No way!
And he sees how I finally made a documentary about how, from the biocatastrophe of one city, where everything was more or less under control, a global-scale disaster cleverly started. But let's take it one step at a time. It all began quite innocently, if you can say so. Some fool started a mysterious epidemic in a city called Harran. And as one might guess, this epidemic is nothing other than a zombie virus in its most classic form. But notably, the military and various private organizations like the Global Humanitarian Mission quickly took control of the situation, established a strict quarantine, and surrounded the infected part of the city with giant walls, completely isolating it from the rest of the world as a precaution. Naturally, the humanitarian organization, as expected, was delivering supplies daily for the survivors. However, the military believes that there are no survivors left at all, and that they should hit the city with something more powerful. That's it. No city, no infected, no virus. I've seen such a plan implemented somewhere before, but
I got distracted.
So, no matter how the soldiers train, the International Humanitarian Organization is still aware that there are survivors in the city, and they need help, not bombings. Therefore, this event is postponed indefinitely. And amid the commotion, that same organization sends their agent to the scene. This is our protagonist, Kyle Crane.
Damn, I'm handsome. Wow, unbelievable.
And we step into his shoes right at the briefing, before the jump. The mission's objective is to find Kadir Suleiman, a local politician who worked with our employers at the start of the epidemic but got angry with the global relief effort after his brother's death and stole an important file about the virus from them. It's reported that the files contain a description of the vaccine for the virus. But if you produce it now, it will be more toxic than teammates in team games, so it might do more harm than good. And at the same time, there is also the virus recipe for the most daring alchemists. Of course, it's clear that such tricks won't lead to anything good. In short, Suleiman needs to be found, tracked down, punished, and the file carrier needs to be stolen. The only difficulty is that the guy went underground, changed his nickname on the server, and encrypted himself, but not well enough, because it's known that he became the leader of one of the two major survivor groups. In which one exactly?
Unclear.
But identifying him will not be problematic. After all, it is one of the two. Ilya, what beautiful views there are here. My compliments. The game is 6 years old, but the graphics are still top-notch. We immediately get a life lesson that you shouldn't be gawking at the scenery when descending by parachute. You might snag on something, fall painfully on your backside, and end up surrounded by local thugs.
The local loop dark side of the most panic for the virus will make character.
The plan was to actually use him as food, but timely Samaritans arrived, so damn kind that a certain Emir decides to sacrifice his life for the injured Crane. As they say,
Pity for him. He was a good person.
By the way, the lady's name is Jade. You need to get to know her better, because she is one of the main characters and potentially a love interest for the players. But anyway. And Crane wakes up in the tower, where right away he is given the nickname 31st. That's his infected serial number, because who needs to bother remembering the real names of all these new people anyway? But it isn't for long. We're informed that the tower is actually Brecken's group, the local leader of noble survivors who parkour from zombies, try to survive, and feud with those punks who robbed Crane upon landing. Well, Brecken becomes the first suspect of being Suleiman, but there's no need to focus on this too much, because spoiler, it's Samnor Tato Nika na Asopoi, it's not him. However, Crane doesn't know this yet, so he goes after a dose of medicine following a bite. It's worth mentioning that the zombie virus here isn't quite typical, as it slowly turns you into a walker, and with the presence of the anti-zin medication in the blood, it stops its activity altogether and temporarily allows you to live peacefully. Nevertheless, they don't give it to us because we haven't earned a place on the list yet, or in simpler terms, we still haven't completed the training. So, we move on. In the Leader's Den, you can check out photos of the most popular cat in this game and chat with Rahim, who is in charge while Brecken and Jade are away. He has Crane's radio, which the main character quickly takes, and the kid is being cheeky. A new freeloader shows up and doesn't even share the radio. But our protagonist is not made with a finger.
Be fair. I'm not lazy. I'm just, hey, boss.
To prove his usefulness, he gets his first task. To go to the 13th floor, where something terrible happened, to search for the man they lost contact with. Couldn't be easier. There's a lot of blood at the scene. Damn. There's a lot of red paint spilled and some sausages scattered around. YouTube. Isci il lac la. Not a bathhouse. A swarm of flies is buzzing around. Why not just stand here and chat over the radio? I don't see any reason not to, and the guy can wait. After all, he's not going to die there. So, Crane reports to his superiors that upon arrival, he instantly fell into the muck, got punched, let himself get bitten, lost the radio, and no one trusts him. But at least his cover isn't blown.
Special Agent.
By the way, the guy is actually dying. So, we grab a heavier pipe and rush to loot the rooms on the floor. What? Did you think I was joking about Jewish tendencies? And don't worry, the guy survived somehow. Miraculously. And he can still be saved by making a medkit from booze and bandages. By the way, there's a pretty decent crafting system here, so to speak. You can and should supply yourself with all sorts of goodies and weapons, personally assembled from whatever you can find. Anyway, the man was saved, help arrived, I was praised, which means we got to discussing with the kid, who, meanwhile, is developing a cunning plan to involve the construction site, which is a breeding ground for dangerous creatures. But Jade, who turns out to be his sister, catches him and stops his attempt at bombing. And Crane expresses respect for the saved skin.
You're Jade, right? Hunted to thank you for what you did for me, and tell you how sorry I am for your loss. I owe you and Amir my life.
Go to hell!
And now you can go up to the roof to finish the training. But before that, change into something more decent. Apparently, the special agent's outfit is complete trash. Oh well, on the roof itself, the kid is already moving the crane, forcing some parkour, which is not surprising, since the main feature of the game is the luxurious parkour that attracted me to this world in the first place. Rahim knows that if you want to survive, you need to know parkour. And he gets out of here. In this universe, only cotton wool, down and foam get thrown out as trash, clearly. Okay, the kid survived, so we can too. I don't know about you, but each of these jumps gives me some physical pleasure. Anyway, we run through the obstacle course, earn some respect from the kid, and head back. But there's a problem. Crane gets hit right on the crane. So to speak, the virus is making itself known, and it's time to get a shot. Antizin, and at the same time meet the local scientist, Dr. Zera, who, by the way, they also wanted to evacuate from here before, but something went wrong. And yes, personally, I went to farm corpses instead of missions, and regularly performed such tricks because I enjoy the local combat and parkour mechanics. So don't be surprised if my levels swiftly rise as I progress. As a bonus, I'll immediately tell you how to easily raise the first couple of levels for combat and parkour.
Like this, just like that. That's how it is. That's how it is. That's how it is. That's how it is. So that's it. That's how it is. That's how it is. That's how it is.
But in the end, you need to meet the doc. Right off the bat, he explains how antizin works and that it is only a stopgap, as I mentioned earlier, and there is no complete cure. There is. However, he and Dr. Ketman, who is in the closed part of the city, are quite successfully moving towards creating a cure. But the process is slow, not least because colleague Zero is in the Zero sector and they are literally isolated from each other, with the possibility of communication only via walkie-talkie. And even that doesn't always work well and reliably. In any case, let's note that there are scientists here who have a chance of successfully creating a vaccine, even though very small. And after the antizin operation, Rahim sends Crane to Spike, the local quartermaster, who is in charge of a lot of things. And overall, he's quite a decent guy, although at first he treats us with suspicion and... With suspicion. He announces that at the moment, the shortage of antizin is starting to choke everyone, because all airdrops of it are intercepted by racist thugs, the leader of that very second faction, trying to subdue everyone. As usual, they have better weapons, more people. So it's easier for them to seize airfields from the global relief effort. And despite racist advantage, Brecken intends to seize a new batch of antizin tonight. And since Crane has already joined this side, to recall politic, we have to help by turning on light and sound traps scattered throughout the city for the undead. However, after activating the first trap, Jade contacts us and asks for help in one of the safe zones where we can hide out at night. One of ours stopped communicating there. The reason being, the guy had already turned, so I took him out. There wasn't much choice. Then I secured the safe zone, and Crane went off to work for the GRE. about what is happening, and Dr. Zera...
Crane here.
Okay, I met this doctor, scientist type. They've got him set up in a sort of research trailer, and he's working on a cure for the virus. His name is Zir. Hello? Do you copy?
Ah, see, I figured you were a jerk. Anyway, stop calling because it's all on tape.
Naturally, VGM immediately wanted to acquire such enticing information, and were given a second task, to assist the doc and protect him. Well, now we can finally finish with the traps. But there was a surprise here too, because after activating the last one, it turned out they put quite a load on the substation, so everything shut down completely, and Crane, being a certified electrician, headed to the substation. However, even here, there are some surprises. The oversized guy with the reinforcement, apparently the local shift manager, demanded Crane's diploma before letting him work. Well, I took him out too. Otherwise, why is he interfering with my work? And naturally, the power can only be restored with a single switch. Just, I see this as a real energy expert, trust me. Well, that's it. Now we can head to the shelter and hit the hay. In short, the strange mutant was reported to the doc, and now we can sleep. Because in the mornings the training is finally officially over, and we can head to Spike so he can tell us how Brecken's plan failed miserably. And now Jade is rallying all the runners, including the main character. We learn on sight that Brecken and his group first took a beating from biters, and then walked right into an ambush by Rice's thugs, who beat them half to death. Naturally, they didn't get the antizin. In short, Brecken got his ass kicked, but it's not enough for him. He wants more, the rascal, but he can't. Jade fairly notes that, as the tower leader, he is needed here. If they finish him off on a mission, it won't be better for anyone at all. It's a different matter with Crane. Nobody would miss him, especially since he volunteers himself.
Jesus. No offense, friend, but you're as green as grass. You can't just...
As soon as Crane finished negotiating, he immediately went to report everything to the GRE. They praised him and told him to get in touch as soon as we get the antizin. Got it. We went for the drops, the first of which were already captured by Race's lackeys and rightfully beaten by me. It should be noted that the living clearly cause more problems than the walkers. This just makes it all the more satisfying to give them a beating. And yes, Crane reaches the last drop before everyone else, but just around nightfall, which is why Jade says to get the hell to the shelter, because it's already dangerous. Only the main character is damn cool, and heads for the goal, by the way. Successfully, a whole 5 crates of antizin, enough for everyone, but the global relief effort suggests tempering our wild fantasies, destroying the antizin, and making contact with Rice, and Crane, like an idiot, grabs 1 dose and actually destroys all the other crates. What the hell, guys? I get so worked up every time, because... First of all, why did he take only 1 dose with him? Does he have too few pockets or something? And secondly, why the hell is this the method to contact Rice? No excuses about plot development, because later the characters themselves will say that nobody knows Crane, and he can just go to Rice without any problem. But okay, what's done is done. The cargo is burning, Jade is in shock, and night has already crept up, so along with the night hunters.
Oh shit, I'm sorry. Sorry for what?
The thing is, no, at night it becomes really dangerous. Ultra strong jumpers come out, which are damn hard to take down, unlike the main character. Even regular mobs can just go into a frenzy and start attacking us. But there's a great bonus. At night, all skill points are simply doubled, and farming becomes only more enjoyable. But I got distracted again. Predictably, having messed up and stupidly risking the antizin, Brecken had no choice but to make a deal with Race, which many of course disagreed with. And this is a great opportunity for Crane to reach the very representative of the assholes. That's why he volunteers to help, making everyone else amazed by his bravery. And as I mentioned, nobody knows Crane, so there are no objections. No. We just have to dive into their lair and offer a deal. Again, as I said, Crane is allowed through without any problems, and right away they show us how much of an idiot Race is, while the main lackey cuts off the hand of some poor guy, who, by the way, can later be found in a side quest to learn about his fate. So, Rice himself is a typical dudebro from VK Publix, all cool and pompous like a rooster with the philosophy that will be imparted to us throughout the plot. But for now, he wants Crane to earn the opportunity to deal by working for his people. There is no choice. Aș balesn a somewhat No, we move to Karim, the local contact and coordinator, like Spike in the tower. He gives us the first task, to improve the communication quality by fixing the towers. After all, we all know that Ndeinde bezent seyand.